gentlemen, please welcome the first debater from Team Going Out, Mr. Jon Ronson!
Hello, thank you. I don't want you to assume that because I'm on the Going Out team, I'm functional. I would hate for you to think I'm functional. I actually really hate going out. I want to make that clear. I was compelled to go to a party the other week, and when I arrived, the host said to me, would you like some potato chips? And I said, no thank you, I'm going to have cereal when I get home. And from the corner of my eye, I'd noticed my wife, Elaine, had overheard this exchange of small talk and was glaring at me, and I mouthed, what? And she mouthed back, be more general. So, make the small talk more general. When I first started in journalism, I met another journalist who'd just come back from covering the war in Bosnia. And I said to him, what was it like? And he said it was amazing. He said he loved everything about it, the explosions, the nearly dying. And I thought you are the worst person to cover a war. I should be covering wars. You have no critical distance. Because it's no fun for the reader. Writing shouldn't be fun. If you're expecting people to spend $20 on your book, the least you can do for them is have a terrible time writing it. Fun times die on the page. You want to get out of your comfort zone. You want to go out. My least favourite time of day is any time after 10:30 p.m. Have you ever been to a party and accidentally stayed there past 11 p.m? It's not nice. People change. They become disinhibited. It came as no surprise to me that Solange hit Jay-Z in the elevator after the Met Ball. Those things don't happen early in the evening. But of course, disinhibited people are more interesting. Well, so all the greatest things that have ever happened to me on a personal level happened at home, and by which I mean Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones. The greatest things that ever happened to me creatively happened when I went out and stayed out. And I'm going to tell you a quick story about a day I had in 2003. It was one of the worst days of my life. I was in Los Angeles failing to make a documentary. And my son was 5. And all I wanted to do was be back home with him playing Grand Theft Auto. I should say that this copy of Grand Theft Auto very quickly ended up locked away in the cupboard of presents that turned out to be not good ideas. Like the nunchucks that I rashly bought him when he was interested in Bruce Lee. By the way, I should say that if you have a 5-year-old child and his excuse for trying to convince you to get him Grand Theft Auto is that it will teach him to drive safely. That's not how it turns out. Anyway, I was in Los Angeles and I got a phone call from my wife. And my son had fallen over and landed on glass, which had got embedded in his hand, and he was being rushed to hospital to have an emergency operation. And I was at LAX about to fly to Hawaii to do an interview, and every fibre of my body was compelling me to fly back home instead. And there was a flight to London, and there was a flight to Honolulu. And I had an interview set up in Honolulu, and even though I desperately wanted to go home and stay home, I went to Honolulu. And as I got off the plane, more miserable than I had ever been, somebody put a garland of flowers around me. And I was there to interview a Special Forces soldier called Glenn Wheaton, who'd been part of a secret US military unit called Project Jedi. And so the interview started, I was just really miserable. And I said to him, so what was Project Jedi? And I was thinking about my son, and he said it was a series of levels. And I said, what was level 1? And he said, level 1 was observation. You walk into a room, how many chairs are in the room? The super soldier would just know. And I said, what was level 2? And he said, level 2 was intuition. You're at a fork in the road, do you go left, do you go right? You go right. And I said, what was level 3? And by now I was kind of forgetting about my son. And he said, level 3 was invisibility. And I said, that's quite a leap from level 2. I said, what, actual invisibility? And he said, at first, but after a while, we adapted it to trying to find a way of not being seen. So I said, like, camouflage? And he went, no. And he said, level 4 was we had a master sergeant that could stop the heart of a goat. Just by wanting it to stop. And I said, did he ever do it? And he said, yeah, one time, but his heart got damaged in the process. And I said, what was the goat? Psychically fighting back. And he said, I didn't stand a chance. And he said, at one point we had 30 goats in a room and had numbers on the goats. And they were all staring at goat number 16. And goat number 17 fell over, which I guess is collateral damage. Anyway, as a result of that one interview, which I desperately didn't want to do, I wrote a book, The Men Who Stare at Goats, which George Clooney turned into a movie, which made me enough money to move to Highgate. And then when we sold the flat in Highgate, we made enough money to move to New York, 8 blocks south of here on 88th Street. And that is the only reason why I'm standing here now. I won out that day in 2003 instead of going back home.